Okay, all set. I think we can start. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone. My name is Maria Luisa Toledo from the Brazilian Institute of Geography and Statistics, and also from the Regional Hub for Big Data in Brazil. It's a great honor to welcome you to today's webinar, which is organized in partnership with the Knowledge Transfer Network of ECLAC and Chile, NSOs. This is the fourth webinar in our ongoing series on sustainable development indicators. I would like to remind you that today's session is being recorded and subtitles in Spanish are available. We are very pleased to welcome today Mrs. InKyung Choi. She's the head of the Statistical Management and Modernization Unit at the Statistics Division of the United Nations Economic Commission for Europe. She also serves as the secretariat to the high-level group for the Modernization of Official Statistics, which is the main topic of this presentation. And she has extensive experience in international collaboration on the modernization of official statistics and the adoption of emerging technologies. Before beginning, I would like to invite my colleague from IBGE, Mr. Vladimir. He is the Deputy Director of the Surveys Department in IBGE to deliver some opening remarks. Vladimir? I don't know if is Vladimir connected with us. I can see him between their team members. Oh, I think he is again. Hi, Vladimir. Are you with us? We can see you now.
This introduction. I would like just to give a words. So I'd like to thank InKyung for taking this invitation and give us this talk. So we have been discussing with her to give us talk since I think last year. The idea was initially to give a talk for us in a meeting that we had at IBG, but unfortunately we were not able to make it at that moment. So, but we still kept this this idea of having her to give a talk to us, and she kindly accepted to still give the talk now. And we thought that would be very nice to give this with the help of the support of the hub and the structure of the hub. And since the very first moment that we have talked to Maria Luisa, she has embraced the idea. So I would also like to thank Maria Luisa and all the staff on ECLAC for doing this. And I think that this is a theme of great interest to all the community. So the theme of modernization of the production of statistics. So this is something that is somehow in the heart of the production of statistics. Is we need to evolve continuously through time. I think InKyung will explore this much more. And she's been conducting great work in this area. Even though she's very young, she has a lot of experience in this. So project that and have a very nice. We learn a lot from she to us. So thank you very much, InKyung, and thanks Maria Luisa also for this. So back to you, Maria Luisa.
Thank you, Vladimir, for the kind words. And also thank you for making this connection possible with InKyung. And before we begin the presentation, just a quick reminder to all participants, please feel free to submit the questions in the WebEx chat at any time. We will address them at the end of the presentation to our speaker. And since we know we have participants from many different countries, we kindly invite you to tell us where you are joining from. So please drop your country name in the chat. And InKyung, thank you very much for being with us today. The floor is yours.
Okay, so let me see if I can share my screen again. Do you see it okay?
Yes, it's okay.
Okay, good. Yeah, so good morning. So yeah, my name is InKyung Choi from UN Economic Commission for Europe. Thanks for inviting me to share what we have been doing at the HLG-MOS, which I will explain a little bit later. And under HLG-MOS, we've been actually trying to improve our communication and dissemination. And so we started doing actually more and more webinar, but these never get to translate it. So I think this is also quite a rare opportunity for us to reach Spanish speaking and other countries. So yeah, although I'm presenting on the work of the UNECE HLG-MOS, I'm pretty much sure that what we are working on is not just the issue of this region, but applicable and resonate to anyone working on the official statistics. So I hope you will find this presentation useful. So this presentation consists of 3 parts. First, I will first introduce about the HLG-MOS, as I feel that there might be some people who are not familiar with the group. And then they discuss the concept of modernization and innovation and how they differ or complement each other. And then the second part will explore some evolution of NSOs, the National Statistics Office, within the changing society and what that would mean for the modernization moving forward. And then finally, I will provide some overview of recent HLG-MOS outputs that aim to practically support on this modernization journey. So HLG-MOS is basically a group of chief statisticians in certain national and international statistics office. So it was established early 2010 with the specific objective of steering modernization in the field of official statistics. And although HLG-MOS itself was set up under our governing mechanism, which is called the Conference of European Statisticians, the membership of HLG-MOS includes not European countries only, but include countries from other regions, like we have Mexico, Australia, New Zealand, and South Korea. But more importantly, the work of HLG-MOS is open for anyone interested in contributing, whether you are from the region or not, or in the HLG-MOS or not. So you can join which activity that resonates with you when you see it. So each year we actually calculate the number of participants from different offices and countries. And last year we had about 290 people work on the various activity of HLG-MOS work, and about 40% was actually from non-HLG-MOS countries, and that is almost 100 out of 290. So just to say, you are welcome to join if you see some activities interesting from us. And as you can see from the name, the modernization is really a key word in our work. So maybe I should explain a little bit more about what do we mean by modernization. And also innovation, because these two terms are used quite interchangeably. But for the purpose of this presentation, I want to make a distinction between the two. So if we start with the more basic, more starting concept, like creativity, it could be simply about generation of good ideas. So it could be some nice visualization tool that I found, and then I used it for my invitation letter for my parties or something like that. But it doesn't really get to be used for work. And then now innovation is about introducing and using and implementing new ideas, methods, products, or services that create a value in the organization. So here, if I use this visualization tool to create some press release or infographic, so on social media, of course, for our company's social media, then it starts to create a value for the organization. Now the modernization is going beyond of simply using it. So it is about updating the existing system. It could be IT or processes by integrating the innovation across the organization and actively encouraging it at the organizational level. And if I go back to the example of the visualization tool, it could mean that the existing tool are replaced by this new tool, which can be now supported by standard tool with some enterprise license, and then maybe the communication department provides some ready-made templates and the logos, etc., etc. So relatively, innovation is a faster tracked, smaller scale, and then maybe with a shorter time frame, while the modernization is a more fundamental change. It is about cross-organization and with a bit longer time frame. Now, of course, not every innovation leads to modernization. Some innovation can be just implemented for an isolated case or for a specific time period, but innovation initiates and drives the modernization. It could be that the new method was working so well, so people decide to adopt it across the organization and then replace the existing one. And usually until it is proven to create a real business value, this innovation don't trigger a level of transformation needed to update the existing system. And on the other hand, modernized organization facilitate the new innovation to grow by providing modern workplace system on which new ideas can build upon. And there's always new ideas, methods, technology coming along. I think we've seen a lot of development in the space of AI recently. And some of the innovation that come along might not be so relevant for official statistics. I guess Bitcoin changed a lot in the finance sector, but I guess it didn't influence the official statistics industry as much. So some of the innovations are really not relevant for official statistics. But once they are proven to be useful, they are integrated into the organization. So the modernization is really never-ending journey because we always observe something happening outside. So at one point, even the modern system will become a legacy system and it needs to be updated and so on forth. So within the HLG-MOS, I think we are working on both innovation and modernization. So we have had many projects working at new data sources, new methods and technology. And we also have a dedicated expert group doing the horizon scanning. But we also have expert groups working on metadata or standards, capabilities, HR. And these are the kind of pillars of organization. So it provides the infrastructure of the organization. And several times I found this put us in a quite interesting position because I get to hear people on one side working on the experiments and the innovation. They complain about the challenges of getting their new approach adopted in the organization. And the people on the other side, under the same umbrella of HLG-MOS, saying that, oh, I think we are worried that the work we are doing are slowing down the innovation by requiring this, and then you have to standardize, you have to provide metadata, etc. But I think in a way, all these people are actually working toward the modernization. And I think this is really inevitable part of innovation and the modernization, because by nature, change creates a disruption. And the more innovative, the greater the disruption is. So if it is adopted without any friction, actually, it means that it wasn't innovative enough. So I think disruption and this kind of resistance are not something to be avoided, but really anticipated and managed. To give a little bit of an example from our experience, so AI has been a big chunk of HLG-MOS work last few years. So in the beginning, we had the projects on the machine learning and AI, and where many examples and pilot studies were discussed. But later, later we found that there are so much challenges about adaptation. So it is relatively easy to build a successful pilot study with AI, but it was really way, way, way more difficult to put it in the production and integrate it as a part of a regular work within the statistical organization. So we had these two reports that more focused on use cases, or really exploring the how to use machine learning, or what can I do with the AI in the statistical organization type of questions. But we also had the many more works on the adaptation aspect, like responsible use of AI, model monitoring and retraining, building ecosystem in the NSOs, capabilities, risk management, governance, etc., etc. Of course, this does not mean that the work on the use cases or this explanatory nature of work wasn't important. Because if we didn't see the value from the first place, we wouldn't spend this much efforts and worry about all these kind of issues. So I think both work stream is very important, like continuously exploring innovation, but also anticipate and then proactively manage adaptation issues in the modernization journey. So now the second part will be more about what is changing in our society, and then what will be the direction of the journey of this modernization. So as you can see, HLG-MOS has worked on quite a forward-looking topics like new technology, new methods, etc. But last 2 years were quite distinctive in a sense that we had quite a lot of discussions focusing on the future of our industry or discipline, not just the specific technology. And one of such discussion led to this paper, A Future of NSO. I think there was a webinar on this paper hosted by ECLAC last year. So maybe some of you might have attended it. And I would like to cover some of the challenges and pathway highlighted in this paper to shed some light on the direction of the modernization journey that we thought was important. So one thing we did in the paper was look at the changes in our society to identify challenges for NSOs. And in the end, the NSO is a part of a society. So changes in our society inevitably impact the landscape for NSO's operation. And in the paper, we described this with the lens of a social contract, which is a mutual obligation and some kind of expectation between the state agencies and the public. So in the case of producers of official statistics, public and society provide or allow NSO to use their data, and then NSO provides statistics with a high quality and quite high quality standard while upholding some values, and then society uses services with trust. So changes happening in our society that impact this social contract, this relation becomes challenges for NSOs. So what are the changes in our society that we thought impact this relationship? So in the paper, we went through about 10 major changes in our society across the different spheres, from social, political, value, technology, and the economic environment, and so on. And to highlight a few, so one of the mega trends that we thought was very important was around the rise of extreme and the decrease of social cohesion. This creates a very challenging environment for NSO because the policymakers care less about evidence. And the society also have isolated opinion bubbles that take information that suits their agenda and don't care much about trustworthy, objective data or information. And among the changes related to our value system and attitudes, the heightened sense of privacy was considered as one of the most significant change. So people increasingly think government is asking too much questions, and the job of NSO is to ask questions. So this has a lot of impact for the business operation of NSO. Also, economies become much more interconnected, and also there are also a lot of extreme weather events happening these days. This make this the core job of NSO very difficult, measuring the important phenomenon, because the phenomenon itself is becoming very complex. So here we identify 3 broad areas for the modernization based on the changes that are happening in the society, as well as a opportunity and the strengths that NSOs already have. So the first theme is around the transformation of the production and outputs, because production of high quality official statistics is a core mandate and the role of NSOs in society. But there is also growing expectation to do it much faster and at the more granular level. And to do so, the operation should be much more efficient and evolve to a changing environment to make the best use of a new opportunity. And it is this context where the automation of traditionally resource-intensive parts of production could be made more efficient, like using AI or digital tools. And this will allow NSOs to increase their attention to more human value activities, such as analysis, like building narratives after the statistic were produced, or talking with the users, citizens, data providers, and the building partnership, and etc. And as the society changes, the production also should evolve. The future production process of official statistics, we thought it would be important to look at the multi-source opportunity. And then this will include the data from administrative agent or the other ministry, but also the private sector. And also there will be some more growing emphasis on the analytical products or data services, such as micro data services and data integration. And the second area is around the positioning and the role of NSOs in this new environment. So NSOs is increasingly exposed to competition. Many statistics can be now found in the public domain that do not originate from the NSO. And we thought this is not a problem per se, because if there is a good quality data that meets the standard of NSO, then it can be welcomed. But this may not be the case. So the mission of NSO could be around ensuring that the key statistics are available in the public domain that comply with the standard of official statistics. And this could also mean that some other entity will produce official statistics. So this might include, entail that the NSO should pick up more roles, such as providing professional services to other ministries or engaging in a data stewardship role or data governance role. And in the more complex world and evolving data landscape, trustworthiness has to remain the cornerstone of NSO's relationship with others, and engaging with the citizens whose data are basis for many statistics should provide a social license. And the last key area we are looking at was the building around the building capability and the fostering agile culture within the organization. The things that I mentioned just before, like automation of a production, analytical product, micro data services, data stewardship, even building a partnership, trust in the NSOs, this all require some skills and capability that traditionally not very common in the Office of National Statistics Office. So this includes not just the data science or AI methodological expertise, but also soft skills like communication, product management, community building, or partnership. Also, this transformation require more agile culture through maybe establishment of a robust production foundation, and then also fostering some organizational culture that support that NSO to react more swiftly and effectively to urgent information needs during the crisis. And then in the remaining of this presentation, I will go over some of the recent HLG-MOS products that support this key area of modernization that I highlight here, in particularly around the multi-source statistics and the building trust in official statistics and the flexible production foundation. So the third part, maybe before I go on to the third part, is it okay to collect some questions or comments now? Because if I remember from my university time, people fall asleep after 20 minutes of someone talking.
Okay, sure. Actually, we already have a question. Diego Guimarães. What are the main challenges large organizations face in balancing the implementation of modernization standards without limiting local innovation through excessive constraints?
So this is particularly around the large organization. I think actually many offices that we work are quite big organizations, and I think Canada has almost 4,000 people, and many organizations have around 1,000. And I think there is no easy solution. If there was one, then I think we would have been these organizations would not be committed for this kind of modernization project. And I think the bigger the organization, I think they always have a problem with the silo, because I think the bigger the organization, the silo can be deeper and more isolated. So when we work about the multi-source statistics, it can, because I think many organizations already have some silo issues, and that is when the production was mostly based on the survey, and once it becomes multi-source, the silo became more multiplied, and I think the biggest challenge is around the silo production, and the one way people overcome is creating some overarching governance body. So one thing that the people found useful is having a multidisciplinary governing body that has actually quite an executive power. So people from the production, people from the IT, people from the methodology, people who are actually doing even HR, these people they create the kind of governing body based on this kind of expertise. And this is a kind of a soft approach where you may not have like a very established center, but this allow people to talk, and they can communicate the problem that happened within the production to IT, and IT people can also take into consideration of a capability limitation they have from the advice from the HR etc. So I think there is really no easy solution, but just really ensuring that this conversation happened. And I think that is a really big role that senior management should play, because sometimes there are a lot of tension. Like IT people don't want to talk with the other people, and there's a lot of politics that could happen. So really the senior manager should step in and saying, okay, we are talking within this framework, and you should listen to the other people, and so on.
Thank you, InKyung. And also, you mentioned a lot of publications that UNECE has made, for example, the future of NSOs. And at the end, I was trying to find the links for these publications. Maybe some of them, if you could send us after the presentation, because I think they are so valuable to bring reflection to everyone. And
yep. So I will share my slides after the presentation, and the image of the publication has a link, so you can just click the images.
Perfect. Thank you very much. So I think now we can proceed with the presentation.
Okay, so now the last part is really about the concrete output that we worked last 2-3 years to support this modernization journey that I just described. So the first output is related to the transforming the statistical production part. So only this month, we published a report called the Handbook on Multi-Source Statistics. And yeah, I briefly mentioned about multi-source statistics as a future area of modernization. But if we define the multi-source statistics as something like statistics that are produced by combining multiple sources, this is very far from new to statistical organization, because we know that there are a lot of information going into the production of official statistics. So for example, the population or dwelling registers are often used for sampling frame. And there's also auxiliary information coming from either administrative records or previous survey that can be used for validating or editing survey data. And then some statistics are naturally multi-source, like national accounts or well-being index or something like that. But the focus of this handbook, or the focus of a multi-source statistics that we are talking about here, is where the output is a result of a data integration at micro level, and where the different sources is substantially contributing to the final output, not just as a supporting role. So why multi-source statistics is gaining so much interest? First, multi-source statistics allows NSO to streamline cost, which is really important topic given that a lot of budget crisis that many NSOs are facing right now. So we know that the unit cost for survey is increasing, but the response rate is decreasing, which is really not a good combination. So by utilizing the existing data sources, such as from tax office, social welfare agencies, or Department of Education, NSO can reduce the cost of collecting data from scratch, which also reduce the respondent burden. And this efficiency gain can also enable NSO to reallocate their time and the resource toward the improving data collection or the engagement with the hard to reach population, which is often not captured in this so-called found data, so that the traditional approach remain essential. So for example, there are a lot of projects to use credit card data, but then there are also a population who are using cash. And this will be not captured in the transaction record. So this is where actually traditional approach should still remain. And these data in other sources are usually in the form of administrative records, meaning that they are usually much more granular, and it can improve their coverage and the timeliness of official statistics as well. Also, beyond this, multi-source statistics allow a greater agility to respond to user needs on the new data, new policy demands or monitoring priorities. And also it can help with the continuity of operation, as we can see the disruption of a pandemic where the survey operation was really difficult. And there are many concrete examples supporting these benefits. So for example, there was a case from Central Statistics Office of Ireland, where they managed to get rid of some of the questionnaire in their survey using the administrative data. And they reduced almost 20% of the time to complete the survey. So this will reduce the response burden of the survey and also increase the survey response rate. And also multi-source statistics can help with or even replace the traditional survey. And there are several organizations changing their census model from the usual traditional census model to hybrid or admin first model. And also there are countries developing new products and etc. And this is just to say that there are a lot of advantages coming from a multi-source statistics, but this of course comes with the challenges. So transition to multi-source statistics require transformation of a business and then operation model of NSOs, because for multi-source statistics to become a regular way of producing statistics, we need a multi-purpose production. And what do I mean by this? So when we say multi-source statistics, it means a statistical output produced using multiple sources. And this could be a new product, or it could be existing product replaced from survey to multi-source. But in the organization, there are actually multiple outputs that can be produced as a multi-source statistics. And there are probably multiple outputs that could be produced using a similar set of data sources. So as I mentioned just briefly before, if a statistical program consolidates these data separately, process them separately, and produce the final statistics separately, this creates a lot of inefficiencies. And for decades, NSO have been working to be away from a silo production. And then this is just a multi-source statistic in silo. And because it is multi-source, the efficiency is just multiplied. So to be able to produce a multi-source statistic in an efficient way, we need a multi-purpose production system where data sets coming in the organization is managed and shared across the organization, across different statistical program and different domain, at least until a certain stage. And this diagram is just about schema of a production process, but there are of course other challenges. So for example, there are legal and ethical concerns. The access issue aside, there are ethical questions around the user consent, because it is not clear whether data obtained from one purpose could be used for another. And there's also big challenges around interoperability and quality. Concept defined for one purpose may not work for the another purpose in the another statistical program. And then usually the change in methodology could create a break of time series, and the users don't like it. And also changing the way you work, usually people inside the organization, they don't like it. So it creates an internal resistance. So in this report, we discuss about these challenges, but also some enabling factor. I think this is actually most interesting part, such as decentralization of data management, which I alluded in the previous slide, and some key data and information infrastructure. And luckily, we are actually having a dedicated webinar on this next Wednesday. So we will have actually full 1 hour presentation on these challenges and enablers. So I will leave it as a teaser like this, and I will maybe copy the registration link in the chat later. And the second output is about ethics in official statistics. So one of the recent trends that we noticed within HLG-MOS is is really about emphasis on ethics and the responsible use of technologies. Again, ethics is not new topic. It's probably one of oldest topic ever debated in the human civilization. So why ethics becomes so important to these days? I think this is probably mirroring what is happening in the operation model. So there are more data, not just from individual or businesses, but we are also getting a lot of data from ministries and other departments or even private sector. And there are also new technologies like AI or cloud. And just like major changes happening in the data input side, any major changes happening in the processing and the through output side or supporting infrastructure could raise questions about what is the right thing to do. Also, there has been a shift of a public perception, as I mentioned in the previous part. So what used to be okay may not be okay, and the people maybe just disapprove outright. Also, many NSOs are exploring to expand their role, going beyond the traditional role of producers of official statistics, but also like data stewardships and data governance role. And usually the greater power comes with the greater responsibility. So in a sense, it is no longer sufficient to do the job right, but do this job in a right way and visibly show that the NSOs are doing it. And this is becoming an important aspect. So we published this publication early this year. So I think it was January or early February. But the objective was not really about creating new guidelines for ethics or some rules to follow. And the objective is really to bring attention to these emerging issues that NSO face and provide some reference point to use when we discuss what is the ethical behavior in the context of official statistics. And as foundation of this contemplation, we use fundamental principle of official statistics as a basis, but also rely on 3 instruments that can help us. So the first is legal regulation. And this is where this instrument sets mandatory minimum standards that NSOs or their staff must follow and establishes some boundaries for what is legally permissible or required. And this includes not just the statistical laws, but also other laws such as privacy and human rights. Second is the quality framework. So quality is a key criteria that underpins the trustworthiness of official statistics. So a commitment to producing quality official statistics is essential to maintain the public trust in the NSO's work. So ensuring quality in the official statistic is itself can be considered as an ethical behavior. So the last one is a professional ethics guide, such as ISI Declaration of Professional Ethics, Royal Statistics Societies, Code of Conduct, etc. And this is about going beyond the legal or quality considerations. So examples could include ensuring that statistical practices do not impact society groups or individuals in a negative way, or combating the abuse of power in the office, or promoting safe workplace for all, and so on. So together, these tools describe the foundation of the NSO's work, the rules to follow, the framework for the quality products, and then the support for ethical day-to-day choices. And of course, this does not mean that the existence of these tools will resolve ethical challenges. What happens in practice is that we encounter a situation where there is no immediate right answer. And the right answer for one can be wrong answer for the other. So there are these ethical dilemmas, situation where we face a difficult decision involving conflicting moral principles or values that arise in the work of NSOs these days. And here we explore 3 different groups of a dilemma. The first theme is around the use of new data sources. And the ethical dilemma here emerged in balancing between the benefits, such as better policy, better public services through the informed policy, and the reduce the response burden on the citizen side, or saving operational cost. And on the other side, there's concerns around the privacy. So in the publication, we had this case study from Norway, where they tried to use cash register data from the supermarket for household budget survey. And by law, by Norwegian law, they do have access to, they do have a right to access privately held data for statistical purpose. So it was legally permissible, but it created a complaint from the supermarket chains. And then it started escalating. So the data protection authority got involved, and the news media got involved, and there is a kind of a media backfire. So in the end, the data privacy agency determined that the extent might be intrusive. And at the time of the report writing, I think there was still debate and conversation between the two agencies, but toward the direction of data minimization. And the second category of dilemma we explored was around the provision of data at the disaggregated level. And the third one is around the data linkage. And this both of a dilemma involves balancing between the better information policy and also the potential privacy concerns, and then the privacy concerns and potential harm. And maybe this is where I maybe want to go back to the point around the innovation and the modernization, because these are the situations where many innovative projects are concerned, like using mobile phone data. There are research projects around the data integration, new services based on the data linkage, microdata services, data integration, and so on. And just last week, we actually had an expert meeting on ethics in official statistics in Geneva. And this is where I heard the people who are working on ethics in their organization saying that we get complained from the people working on innovation that these ethics procedure and protocol that we establish are slowing them down. But I think in the end, the innovation without building public trust is really building a bridge with a very weak foundation. And as these innovative approach become the part of a production and the regular production, giving a serious attention to ethical implication is critical. And I think this is why we see more and more conversation around ethics and trust in the discussion around the modernization. Because in the current environment, work of NSO is not just about producing good statistics, but doing it in the right way. So this publication covers more than ethical dilemmas. It discusses also about ethical consideration throughout the throughout the statistical production process, where we need to pay more attention in terms of ethics, and also issues around the emerging technologies. And then I think more and more organizations, they build an office or dedicated person on ethics. So it is important that individual staff have an ethical mind, but also as an organization, there has to be some procedure or protocol to manage ethics issue within the organization. So we also have some dedicated chapter about the management tools or governing procedures for within the organization, and also how to build the culture and communicate within the office, but also with the public. And there was actually a dedicated webinar on this last month. So what I've been telling is almost a teaser. So you can find the recording if you want to learn more about this publication or the topic of ethics in the context of official statistics in general. And then the last one is about the open source. And this open source project was from the 2024 project. The open source software is can be defined as a software where source code is freely available for sharing and may be modified by users or derivative works created. And open source offers a great benefit for NSOs. They are flexible and provide more agility. And we almost say it democratizes development of software in the NSOs. And you can avoid vendor lock-in and reduce cost for proprietary software, which can be a huge and actually growing bigger and bigger these days, the license cost. And the transparent nature of open source software allows a peer review of a statistical procedure. So therefore, it also strengthening the credibility of official statistics. And in our HLG-MOS community, there are several NSOs moving away from SAS. So they have to reconfigure their production system built around the SAS with open source, which is a massive transformation. And we also had a lot of people working on AI, and they use, no one is using SAS to do AI. So they are using mostly open source programming languages like Python and R. And they also rely a lot on tools like LangChain or Docker. So there was a lot of interest about the open source. And that's why we were compelled to work on the topic in last 2 years ago. And yeah, I see a lot of time already passed, so I wouldn't go into detail about this content per se. It contains some SWOT analysis about the open source adoption and the discussion about some key factors such as licensing, governance, and the security. But maybe I will go to this part where we talk about the guiding principles for open source software in the official statistics community. Because fundamentally, open source is about the community. And it depends on the community-driven contribution from the individual organization and then the staff. So for open source initiative to be effective and sustainable, we need a shared understanding of what it means to do open source. And here we came up with these 7 principles. So open source by default, and then the project should start in the open and then from the beginning and clearly mark the maturity status throughout the development. And then the existing open source should be improved rather than recreated. And the creation of reusable generic functional building blocks should be prioritized over one-off or ad hoc solution. And when developing open source software, solutions should be well tested, documented, and choose the most permissible open source license possible. And finally, promote, because so that people know that your software exists. And these principles have been adopted at the 73rd plenary session of our governing board, governing mechanism, which is Conference of European Statisticians. And one thing that I realized during this process was that each principle, it looks quite straightforward, but it's not as easy as initially it looks. So like the generic statistical building block, because when we develop software, it is not easy to think beyond our immediate need. And also about this principle about promote, we are already busy developing it, so people don't have time to promote it. And also about the work in the open, it requires really some courage to open from the beginning. People want to keep it to themselves until they feel more confident. But yeah, so I think doing open source is really not easy, but these are the practical, these 7 principles are the practical lessons learned that encapsulating the experiences of the project participants who've been working in the open source in the context of official statistics for many years. So by promoting this principle at the opportunity like this, I think we try to get closer to building official statistics open source community. And yeah, so far I talk about what we have done, but then we also have a quite ambitious plan for this year as well. So we have a project on the AI-ready dissemination. And this is where we are looking at the dissemination only, like not the coding and classification or text editing imputation, but how to make a dissemination AI ready so that the external AI services can pick up official statistics better. And we also have a project on the trust because, yeah, this has become such a significant theme in our conversation. And we also have some activities around the paradata and then the statistical literacy. And you can find the full information about our plan for this year in this paper. Yeah, there was a URL link, hyperlink that you can use. And if you are interested in our work in more general, we have the corporate website, and you can also follow on the LinkedIn. And then if you have any question about the things that I mentioned or our plan for next year, you can always email me at this email address. So I think it was quite long, so then I will stop like here.
Thank you very much, InKyung. You mentioned a lot of important points for the NSOs, and not only for the NSOs, but for the data producers in general. And I have a question, but we have a question in the chat from Mexico, from INEHI. Thank you very much for all you are sharing the floor. Do you believe that limiting the publications of data analysis and focus only on descriptions of results strengthens the NSO? Thanks.
Oh, okay. I don't know if I understood the questions. So does it mean that reducing the existing statistical program results and then focus more on the analysis description of the result? So like building more narrative?
Yes.
Is that
Yes,
how you
maybe.
understood, Maria?
Oh, maybe I don't know if it's related to dissemination. If I don't know I can see the name he or she is like taking the point that the NSOs should make data analysis with the results, or should they only focus on like sharing the data, the micro? Maybe if it.
Yeah, I think this is a very valid point around the role of NSOs, because many NSO think well, traditionally the job is to produce the number, and actually in context of if I just make a link to this AI ready dissemination project, what we are finding right now is that just a number is not picked up by AI. So there should be some kind of analysis and insights going with the number. Then AI pick up this information from the web. So I think more and more just producing number itself might not be enough, especially when people rely on AI. Because if there is no narrative of building around it, then the number itself is rarely picked up. Then I think we have a lot of cases where others who provide some analysis around the NSO's number, like a news article or some research institute, they provide analysis, and these resources pick up, not the NSO's press release. So I think in terms of this accessibility from the AI, I think there is also angle to look at it.
Yes, thank you, Carlos. It was Carlos from INEHI. And his question is related to something that you mentioned at the end of your presentation, which is something we are like all the time talking about using alternative data sources, and but there is a more, I think it's an evolution from that, which is the AI readiness. And how do you see how mature do you think the NSOs are in terms of AI readiness?
Well, that is a very big question. And I guess it's very different from each organization, what kind of a system or what kind of experience that they had within their organization. And if I see, because the production or business process has a lot of different area that could be benefiting from the AI. And I think in terms of a more of a processing part, NSO already have quite a good experience, even if the NSO didn't work with the machine learning or AI, because NSO have people with the statistical expertise. So I think that they already have a very great potential compared to other public agencies to start with the machine learning. And then if you look at the processing part, actually, it's not very far from statistical methods. And in terms of, in our new focus is around the now dissemination. And this is where maybe a little bit more work, more attention should be added, because this is not the first time that NSOs have to adapt to the new technology happening in the dissemination side. Because for maybe 20 years, people are trying to adapt to the search engine optimization, because people don't come to NSOs or web page to check what is a number, because people just check on the Google search. And then now we have a paradigm shift from the search engine to the now AI generated chat services. And I think here, maybe recognizing this as an issue is, I think, a biggest step. And yeah, that's what I think we are not in the position to evaluate the maturity, because we don't have actually way of understanding the issue yet. Because in terms of dissemination, there is also metadata issue, semantic issue. There is like even the server, very technical, the readiness of a server issue. So once we figure out what is the right way to analyze the issue, then we can maybe talk about the maturity.
Okay, thank you very much, InKyung. The NSOs are facing so many challenges. This is one of them. And the work you promote at the UNECE is very valuable. Congratulations for the work, for the important publications. I have already sharing the chat, the link for registration for the next week webinar from the Handbook on Multi-Source Statistics. Everyone is invited to register. I have registered myself. I'll be there. But we don't have more time, but I think we would have so much to discuss here. Thank you very much for being here with us today. Thank you to all of the participants. And I would like to invite everyone for our next webinar, which will take place on April 30. The recording of this webinar will be made available soon in the Regional Hub official website. And InKyung mentioned that she's going to share the slides with us. And we are going to share with the Knowledge Transfer Network, so it will also be available in their webpage. And thank you very much, InKyung.
Thank you for inviting.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.